Histology. Histology is the study of tissues. So the cells that we talked about earlier will organize themselves into four main types of tissues. Those tissues will then combine to form organs. Those organs then combine to form organ systems, and then you end up with a full organism. So you can kind of see how we're starting with the smallest, most basic functional part, which is the cell, and we're building ourselves up to a full organism, and in our case, the human body. Each category has their own unique physical and functional characteristics. So we have connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. Those are the four main categories of tissues. You will actually be drawing some of the common microscopic images of tissues this week. You will be determining where they're located, what their function is, and just getting a really good idea of some general characteristics of these four categories of tissues and the different structures that these tissues can actually make up. Connective tissue is the most diverse of the tissue categories. It includes bone and cartilage and blood. So think about blood and think about bone, and you can see how diverse this category can be. Its main function is to support and transport things. Muscle tissue is the second category. Its function obviously is movement. There are three types of muscle tissue: smooth, cardiac, and skeletal. Nervous tissue, its function is to conduct impulses, so neurons are going to be the main cell that makes up nervous tissue. And then epithelial tissue, which is going to be your coverings and serve to cover things, protect things, and also serves as support. Epithelial tissue is kind of interesting because we can actually organize it and name different kinds of epithelial tissue based on two characteristics. The first is the number of cell layers. So if you have one layer, it's a simple epithelial tissue. If you have more than one layer, it's called stratified. And the shape of the cell. There are three main shapes. Squamous, which is like a flat cell. I think it looks like a fried egg under a microscope. Cuboidal, which is going to be little boxes or cubes. And then columnar, which is going to look like long columns. So by combining the two categories or the two classifications, we can name epithelial, and you'll have a general idea of what that epithelial tissue looks like. So for instance, if you have a simple columnar epithelial tissue, that means that you have a single layer of column-shaped cells. If you have a stratified cuboidal epithelial layer, that means that you have more than one layer. The top layer is the layer that we name the tissue after. So the top layer of cells would then be cuboidal, which would be cubed shaped. So more than one layer, and the top layer has cubed shaped cells. So just by looking at the name closely of epithelial tissue, you kind of get an idea of some general characteristics about it. So, like I said earlier, this week you're going to look at tissues, you're going to draw some tissue samples, get an idea of what the function is of the different categories of tissues, where some of those tissues are located. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know, and have a fantastic week.